because welcome to the Rise of the Goddess Collective podcast. I am your host, Michelle Julian. Well, this podcast is turning into a movement. Who knew it would be this powerful for the world to hear? Yes, it's the world. It's not just local Massachusetts. I'm looking back at all of the statistics in Spotify and I'm shocked. I'm like, wow, this is hitting India. Okay, that's interesting. So, who knew that this little podcast that I started in December of 2020 would grow into something so helpful for other amazing goddesses out there, because you don't have to be a woman to be a goddess. You can be a man. You can be also a transgender person. You can be anything and be a goddess, because that's really what goddessing is all about. So I have this amazing guest, Judy. She is such a goddess, and she's been goddessing for 30 plus years, let's just say more than a decade, many decades. And she has come here to share her wisdom with us. So, Judy, welcome to the Rise of the Goddess podcast. So honored that you're here. And I'm taking a breath. So tell me, what is going on in your world? We were talking behind the scenes about how we as human beings are always evolving minute by minute. So why don't we just start with that topic about you and the pandemic and your chapter of your life right now, and how you're pivoting and what that looks like in a nutshell.
Oh, wow. A nutshell. Well, I have, as you know, been immersed in a mission for the past 12 years that was born through the loss of my middle boy, Ben, to suicide. And it was in 2009. He was just 18 years old. And, during the years of raising my son, he had, been diagnosed with a million labels. He had extraordinary challenges, and we as a family had extraordinary challenges as a result of his mental health issues. And there was very little language back then, or resources, or tools, or acknowledgement. There was the word stigma of mental illness did not even exist yet. And, when I, during the years of raising him, became looked outside of the mainstream model. My son Michael calls me the OG. I'm 60 years old today, not today, but in this time period. And I became a Reiki master. I became a hypnotherapist. I became a yoga teacher, an artist. I'm a writer, so I was doing all the things that I still do today back then, as a response to, how do I help this kid who is struggling so much, and all they want to do is put him on medicine and shove him in the box and send him the message that he doesn't fit. And I tuned into, back in my early 30s, when he was little, I started to hear about the law of attraction, and again developed myself in the alternative modalities to what was at the time traditional, and still to this day is. And so, that mission that was born through him is still alive here 12 years later. And then you come to pandemic. And we as an organization came 12 years out. We're all about empowerment for youth and families, and helping families to provide families with combining the traditional and holistic for a whole person, whole family, whole child approach to wellness. So that's what Ben Speaks is about. And we just opened our first resource center in Holliston, and we were just ready to have our open house, and I had a Grow You Healing Center above it, and everything shut down. Now the resource center is still there. the Grow You Center, my healing center that was in, that I had developed over a 4-year time, shut down. And I sat there and said to myself over the first 2 months, sitting here by myself, completely isolated like everyone else, what the frig do I do now? Like, I had 40 clients a month. They all went away. It's discretionary monies and nobody can see anybody anyway. And so, I just started to ask myself, what do I do? And I was doing a Tony Robbins program, and he said, and you just said it before we started recording, he said, life is happening for you, not to you. And I thought back to when Ben first died, and one of my early healers said, you're going to be a grief recovery specialist. And I was like, huh, really? Because I was a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher and a healer. And I was like, and that just kind of came back to me because after Ben, I lost 2 sisters, a mother, a marriage, a friend in a fire, and a brother-in-law to suicide. And I'm kind of, well versed at grief. And so that's where I am after pandemic. I'm now trained as an advanced grief recovery specialist. The nonprofit is holding its own. We're coming out of the gate with a strong board of directors. We did a lot of work around that during the downtime. And we've attracted some phenomenal human beings who are ready to take this organization to the next level. And I'm seeing, since pandemic and since we opened back up, and now I'm transitioning to Zoom so I can have the World Wide Web to do my work rather than hands-on healing, which I love, by the way, because I'm a kinesthetic. But I've worked with at least 15 mothers who have lost their children, and many people who have lost siblings, because I can help people in a huge way in that regard.
Mm.
So that's my nutshell answer. How did I do? I told you I could get going.
Take a deep breath, man.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
take a deep breath. That's a mouthful.
Yes.
That's a mouthful and super focused work, because it's about your transformation as this human being in this world and being open to learning what the next purpose is for you, because that's life. Human beings are evolving minute by minute, second by second. If we allow it, we can also resist it. We can have a resistance like, oh, I can't see that. I mean, I'm a healer. I'm touching people. I'm kinesthetic. You could have totally blocked that, but you chose to be open, to be curious, to like embody that curiosity by going online and seeing how other people are going online. And Tony Robbins is a perfect example. I mean, his whole platform is all retreats, going and seeing him live. That's where the transformation is done with him. But look at him and look at all the other people that pivoted online.
Yeah, he did, boy. He was remarkable what he pulled together. I mean, of course, he has resources and money and all of that stuff, but that doesn't mean that the little ones like us can't do the same thing. And he's the role model. He's the leader. He's the OG, for all of us in that different vibrational realm.
Right. Right. He's more masculine, I think, for, the coaches that are kind of out there. And what's been fabulous is he's been a trailblazer to help other people lift and vibrate at that level of understanding that you as a human being are evolving all the time, and things aren't happening to us, they're happening for us. There are no accidents in life and all of that. But how do you stretch and strengthen your own intuition when you're so used to seeing people one-on-one, healing them like that, like, customer to customer, client to client, physical transformance, like energy to energy. But now how do you strengthen your own intuition and pivot online? How did you birth that idea of curiosity with your own strength of your intuition? That's really the deeper question here.
Well, I think I'm where I am today because I have such a powerful and strong intuition. I developed very early in my life through, I always had it, in the Ben Speaks language, the Bens of the world. Our organization uses the language, are you a Ben? Are you raising a Ben? Are you teaching a Ben? Do you know a Ben? An at-risk youth in your community. And what is a Ben? Well, a Ben beats to his own drum or her own drum from the moment their little feet hit the floor, even before that. And they are super tuned in, turned on from the time they're born, so much so that they're high empath, they're high sensitive. They're elevators of what's to come in our world today. They're the entrepreneurial spirits, they're the healers, they're the change agents. And that's what Ben was, and my other two children as well. And me, I was too, growing up in a time where I was so far ahead of my time from the time I came into the world that I felt like I was, like I was living in a alternate universe, and the one that I was living in, I didn't belong in it. And so, and the same thing happened to my own children. And then I was able to find language for that through my son's death and through my channeling and communication with him on the journey from the time of his death to where we are today. And so, I trust spirit and God and Ben and the angels above all else. And
Mm,
I will always naturally, as now a master healer and a master intuitive healer and teacher, I have the gift and the ability to shift, that no matter what is happening around me, that I'm okay and everything's going to work out. And do I still have blocks? Yes, I have technology blocks. That's been probably my biggest challenge is I don't know how. I don't know how. So, and sometimes I get stuck with, and I don't know how, and I don't have the money to pay people because of what just happened with COVID, and I had to shut my center. And so I have limitation. And so, but the intuition keeps in the backstory going, la, 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 la. Yeah, yeah. Forget about that stuff. Just keep doing what you're doing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, because we're always going to have that outside voice. I don't call it the inside voice. It's the outside voice that is the naysayer, the limiting beliefs, and Tony Robbins would have his say about that, right? And if you allow that voice to take over, you wouldn't be where you are right now. You wouldn't even be on this Zoom call with me,
No,
right? I mean,
no. And before Ben died, or maybe probably 10 years before he died, I would have been shaking at the idea of even having this conversation or being seen. I mean, my palms would be sweating, my solar plexus would be thumping.
mhm,
This is nothing for me at this point. It it's not out of my comfort zone at all. Getting in front of, hundreds of people, which I have. I've spoken through Ben Speaks as a speaker
mhm,
to, I've been in 100 schools and spoken to kids at middle school, high school, college level.
mhm,
And yeah, I'm sweating when I go in there. I'm still, it's still out of my comfort zone to this day.
mhm.
Um, because I am so sensitive, I'm so intuitive, but I get over it. You know what I mean? It's like, there's nothing bigger than the loss of a child, especially one to self-harm in the way I lost mine.
Mm,
And so everything else was reduced to smallness. It was just, okay, so I might have a little anxiety, get over
mm,
it and just get on the stage and, you're here to serve. So serve and just get over yourself.
mhm,
You know?
mm,
And I speak to and teach about the inner bully, in whether it's through Ben Speaks or whether it's in my own work as a, having a client on a healing table, or whether I'm doing grief recovery, or whether I'm teaching a sacred spirit circle, or I'm doing a retreat, or I'm speaking in front of an audience. It's all the same thing. You got to harness your power and stop listening to that inner voice that started as an outer voice
mhm,
that became your inner perception, that now becomes your inner seat of belief, that is rooted in your ego's need to be right and tell you you're a piece of shit and you're not. It's a big fat lie. And it's a virus in your computer. And you just need to, and the more you try to tell that virus to go away or to fuck off, I'm sorry, I swear, or to go to hell, or to leave you alone, or call it names, or whatever you do with it, it
mhm.
just gets stronger, because what you resist especially with ego, will get stronger. So you have to make friends with it. You have to learn how to love it and love that part of yourself and love it back to integrating into who you really are. And so that's everything I teach. It's everything I preach. It's everything I walk.
Mm.
And over time, now at 60, that what was once a very rude Rudy, I call her voice, is no longer running the show. I mean, now it's the magician. So I,
Oh, that sounds juicy. We're going to go with that. So that's sharing. Now you're into that kind of next component of this experience being here in on this podcast. This is the movement part. It's the inner goddess wisdom self
right.
and how you learned to be discerning with your own personal life experiences, because life is an experience,
Yeah.
business experience on all the levels. So let's first start with you as a young, let's say, a young version of yourself. What that young version of self would be saying to you now.
Um, well, do you mean like what it would be saying to me now that I am past listening to that? But well, that the little girl in me would say, "I'm so grateful. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy to be in this life with you. I'm so relieved that I don't have to play the victim anymore. I'm so excited about what's to come. I'm so thrilled that my creative juices get to flood out of me now, that I am free to be myself, that I don't have to hide anymore, that I don't have to pretend that I'm not good enough and stay small so that everybody who does feel small feels comfortable."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so now this chapter of your life is oozing. You're oozing all over the place and
Yes.
showing everyone and everything that you too can be who you truly are, that inner
Yeah.
soul goddess, because you were talking about your solar plexus and all of those things that tie us into this spirit. We're a spirit, and then now we have a body.
Yeah.
So how to take that body, spirit, mind, and really allow ourselves to show up. And that's what you're doing, because you're in that chapter, the later chapter. Like me, we're both in our 60s. I like even when I say it, I look at myself and I look at you, I'm like, we look pretty damn good for 60.
Yeah, I think so. I was going to say, you're 60, really? Wow. Good for you. You look amazing.
Yeah, I'm 62.
Get out of here. Really?
Yeah, 62. And I mean, I feel younger sometimes mentally, physically.
Okay.
Sometimes there's some challenges. I wake up with a swollen joint, or, I wonder, like, how did I even like do that particular thing yesterday? I can barely get out of bed feeling. So that's the reality. The body ages, right? But
Yeah.
our minds actually don't have to.
No.
And that's the discerning part of allowing to hear what you need to hear for that mind to keep stretching and growing and evolving. So how are you doing that with all of like the crazy that's out there, like online? When you start going online, which we both have been doing, we've been upping our ante, because we're both, we see clients one-on-one, and so it's upping that ante of being online. How do you be discerning of that energy when you're online? Let's just kind of share that with people, because there's a lot of people that are going online now that are similar to our age, and they're like, how are you doing it?
I mean, it's a step-by-step process for me. When I got trained as in grief recovery, one of the benefits of actually having, I've always developed my own program. I'm very intuitive. So when I work with people one-on-one, I don't have a plan. I don't like have a, I don't have, I have, I do a lot of the same things because I've developed these things over the years, but I don't really have a plan. And so that's challenging for me as an intuitive and as a very ADHD brain. And so technology is very like it's very hard for my brain to go, okay, what do I do now? So I've had to really just trust myself to learn slowly. I was trained in a grief recovery program that is a 7-week program that is, that you can do online and you can be intimate with people. That was another breakthrough for me. I felt like I couldn't be intimate when I was online, that it was, there was this separation somehow. And I know that everything is energy and that we're all connected. And again, I'm tactile. I'm a Ben. Bens are kinesthetic visual learners. And so, but trusting that, I still would be able to connect. And I have found now through experience and experiential learning, I'm an experiential learner, that in fact I can connect with people through technology. I'm not a big, I'm not on technology all day long. I have a lot of space in my life. I spend a lot of time, walking, hiking, chanting. I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. That's how that's where I have a lot of my breakthroughs, is through my Buddhist practice. Um, I try to eat healthy. I feel really good for 60. I mean, I don't think that I even think of myself as the age that I am. I don't even know what that is. And I feel like soul is eternal. So, you know, I get to play in this body for the next however many years. And when I'm done with this body, the soul is going to just go do something else. I don't know what that's going to be. But technology is still it's a process for me, and I'm slowly breaking through it. Like Ben Speaks is doing webinars, and I know how to do a lot. I just haven't figured out how to do group programs and put people into separate rooms and figure out how to give them each their context of what they're going to do and bring them back together and have them have a process that's going to be, you know, really purposeful and mission focused, and so that they get a lot of value and benefit. I can I can teach people in a room and they have an unbelievable experience.
Mhm.
I don't know how to translate that online
Mhm.
yet.
Yet, keyword yet. And you will, because Ben Speaks has a mission.
It does.
Mission that's outside of your own limitations,
It is.
right?
And-
We all have limitations. We're not, limited, but the capacity of your learning and curiosity allows for your soul to evolve and learn these things. And so that's where I really want to talk about, because you shared this with me before we actually went online, about your plans for, you know, basically we're in July now, right? So July, August, and September. There is a lot of opportunity in the summer now that we are out of kind of pandemic
right.
emergency mode. We're taking our masks off here in the States, because we followed the rules. I love that. We followed the rules. And so now we're actually benefiting from it because we followed the rules of the science. And so basically now we can take our mask off outdoors. And some of us probably keep our masks on just because we feel more comfortable, even if we're vaccinated, if we're not vaccinated. So what do you see yourself doing with that now that, we can now see each other?
Well, I already have planned a grief recovery retreat in Vermont. That it's already full, actually. And then another person who is a mom who lost a child a year ago is already getting trained in grief recovery and has been trained in a lot of energy medicine tools and has a beautiful place on the Cape. And we're planning a September retreat. It won't be the full program, but it'll be all about self-care and connecting through spirit. I'm also a medium. I'm an intuitive and a medium, and I can channel spirit. And she does table tipping, which is another modality for connecting to spirit. So we'll be doing a couple of retreats. Ben Speaks is launching our second Survive to Thrive program, which we did do it online. We didn't attract as many kids as we would have liked to. It was challenging, but we did it. Connecting with kids through that program is designed for kids who are ages 11 to 14, who are growing up in a home with a sibling with mental health issues. So it's to help the siblings, to provide them with tools, combining holistic and clinical. So I work side by side with Bretton Torkelson, who is a licensed psychologist.
Mhm.
And I bring my empowerment work, which is a program that was developed by me and is brought through Ben Speaks, called The Power of Choice. And so that we will be doing live starting in September at our resource office. So we are starting to have some live offerings. And I'm continuing with grief recovery via Zoom, and have, many clients that I'm working with currently. And I still see, and honestly, throughout COVID, I did see clients,
Mhm.
here and there,
Mhm.
one-on-one at my home or via Zoom or whatever. Like, I'm doing a combination of both. But
Yep.
I definitely can more and more see the benefits of utilizing the online opportunity. Sorry about that noise. Somebody's calling me. There you go.
Okay, put that on silent.
I mean, I thought I did. I put it on no sound, but it came on my computer.
Oh,
I
that
don't know how to,
happens. That happens. No worries.
I don't know how
So
to do
great. So
this.
when is this Vermont thing happening that's already full?
October, the weekend of October 15th through the 17th, I believe it is.
Okay. And so how many people are going to be there that this is already full?
It's for 11 people.
11 people, and it's outside?
No, it's in an indoor space. It's a beautiful home. It's a vacation home that is owned by one of my board members for Ben Speaks.
Got
She's
it.
my friend since her little girl, who is now 21 at 3 years old, was my first yoga kids student back in Medway when I had my center called Diamonds in the Rough Yoga and Art Studio, and I was a yoga kids teacher. And I started PJ Teddy Time Yoga, and she was my very first student. She's 23. So 20 years later, and her mom is on my board of directors, and she has a beautiful, beautiful home in Vermont. I've done other retreats there. Some of them have been for Ben Speaks, and this is my first one for my work, just me.
Okay. So the audience really needs to hear this, Judy. Judy, you are having a retreat for
Yes.
someone that, remember, you just said earlier that it's like hard to do the online thing, the shifting of your contact with people. So you are a perfect example of connecting and developing personal relationships.
Oh,
And
yes.
all those personal relationships evolved in you collaborating and partnering with these people because
Yes.
they know you, they like you, and they trust you.
Yes.
This is the critical component that is not shared, even though it is a little bit, but it's not really shared in a strong way. And I want to strongly share this on this podcast, that you do not instantly get a retreat fully booked when you just go, "Boop, oh, I want to fully book it because I manifested it." No, you
Right.
actually
No.
needed to work really, really like mindfully connecting with people that resonate with your juiciness, and then develop it over time. These things take time. And
Absolutely.
so, with that being said, you really made that happen because you've been working at cultivating relationships with people.
Yes, absolutely. It's who you're being, I mean, and this is, remember, a grief recovery retreat
Mhm.
for mothers who have lost their children, and 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 some women who have lost their mothers. And so, they trust me. You,
Mhm.
you you don't have that happen unless there's, a level of real trust. I mean,
Absolutely.
their hearts are in my hands, you know what I'm saying? And
Exactly. Exactly. And so that's so critical for people to understand that when they have their like service, their, I see this really as deep work, right? It's almost like you're bringing them into a sanctuary where they need to be vulnerable, and feeling that vulnerability, they also need to know you, like you, trust you, believe that, you're not going to take them down a pearly path and it's not going to be a good experience,
God
you
no.
know, and they trust that. So I think that what I want the audience to know is it's so important to take your time developing your skill, and don't forget it's really about relationship building
More than anything else.
over time. And
More
I
than
don't think online really shows that part, but now I'm starting to see people revealing that, I actually met this person 20 plus years ago, and now I'm working with them. We met each other in a job 15 years ago. We started doing XYZ. And now that if you start peeling behind these services and these people online, these are people that are very successful. Tony Robbins is the perfect example. They started with a situation where they weren't known, and
Absolutely. Tony Robbins tells his story. I mean, he started out begging some guy to teach him how to do NLP, and he had no money. He didn't have two sticks to rub together. I mean,
right.
it was his passion. And I think that, when I look at myself and say, am I successful? I mean, financially, I'm doing okay, but I'm not that six-figure person, because I've spent a lot of my time and energy on the mission. And the mission is, you don't get paid as a nonprofit. Like, bringing a nonprofit from a trauma to where it is 12 years later. Most of them fall apart at year 5. But so a lot of my time and energy has gone into that. So my own work really took a back burner, and I've been able to, have enough and more than enough. But I'm ready now to, to grow that part of, and I have developed many relationships over the years, and have, probably a significant following, more than I even realized. But now it's a matter of being really clear and niche focused on what I'm doing finally in my own private work. And it's just another piece of that bigger mission, which
Yes.
is that I want to help the moms of Bens, who have lost their Bens, to move through the grief process. And I think that I've modeled that to the world, whether it's through social media and people seeing me there, or podcasts, people seeing me there, or interviews, or getting in front of audiences, or teaching a million yoga classes, or whatever it is. Anybody who knows me knows that I have learned how to move through what is inherent in life, which is grief and loss. I mean, it's a normal and natural process,
Mhm.
and it's something we all will have to go through at one time or another in our lives. And if we don't deal with it's an issue of the heart. Our hearts are broken. It's not a
Mm,
head thing; it's a heart thing. And
exactly.
you
Exactly.
know,
With that being said, I would love for you to share with the audience your books and your training that you received for the grief recovery certification. This is a 7, did you say, of 7 weeks?
So if you work with me to go through grief recovery, if you've lost a child, or it's a 7-week program that you invest in your own grief recovery. And
Mhm.
I facilitate you as your heart with ears and as your facilitator through that process. And it's through the Grief Recovery Institute. It includes a grief recovery handbook that's, through the Grief Recovery Institute. It's a 30-year tried and true grief recovery program, and it's accessible to anybody of any religion, any creed, any color. Like, it's very accessible. It's not woo woo, and it works. It's very powerful. I mean, I benefited when I was in my training to really release some old grief that I didn't even know I was holding on to around
Mm,
specific relationships. And
mm,
it's a
mm.
very powerful, powerful program.
Do you have a specific link for this book, this certification that you can share, that I can share in the notes when I do my editing?
So you want to be able to provide people with where they can get certified? Is that what you're asking me? Or you want me to tell you where they can reach me to go through the program?
Both.
Okay, yes, I can do that.
Always both. Always more. Juiciness.
Yes, 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 yes. It's the Grief Recovery Institute. And my website is judygio.com.
That's
So,
easy to remember. judygio.com. I love it. That's so short and sweet.
yes, and the name of my business is Joy Beyond Grief.
Love it. That's so easy to remember. Oh, my heart just melted. Joy beyond relief,
Grief.
grief.
Beyond-
Oh,
Joy Beyond Grief.
wow.
The only way forward is through.
Super juicy. Super juicy. I am so happy that we have this time together to share this super powerful wisdom, your path, your mission. It's truly a movement, and it's only getting started, really getting started to explode. I can feel it's going to explode. It's going to truly help so many people. So before we say goodbye to our audience, is there anything else you want to share?
I don't think so. I think I'm good. Just that I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to be here with you, with your movement of raising goddesses, because, I really feel like, I guess I've known this in some way deep inside myself for a long time, is that women are, we're collaborators, we're communicators, we're a hand up. Um, have I been in environments where women are competitive? Absolutely. But I think by nature, we have more of a tendency to keep ourselves in check around that. And that, part of the language of Ben Speaks is that, we have to move from me consciousness, all about me and what I need, to we consciousness. And
Mm,
and be a hand up to each other, and be collective collaborators and supporters of each other's dreams, that we can all have what we desire to live fulfilling and happy lives. And that it's through love consciousness that we're going to get there, not by separation and hatred and judgment and victimhood. So I mean, I just don't vibrate there. I don't live there anymore. I haven't for a very long time, and I know more and more women like you who don't either. So it's a good thing. I feel like we're all locking arms and saying, you know what, no more. The mama bears are rising up.
I love it. I love it. Speaking of that, what is your favorite kind of thing you do in the morning for your goddessing routine?
Well, like I said, I chant every day, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And I also, I do a lot of, I'll do the Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian prayer before I even get out of bed. I will do, Deepak Chopra has some really great stuff in his 21 Days of Abundance. I love his stuff. I listen to Abraham. I might read, right now I'm reading Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza. I mean, I just plug in, I tune in to the people who, have the juicy material that's going to help me continue to elevate my life. I
Love
think who you listen to is key. And
Love it. Yes, it's like medicine for your mind, right? Like we
yeah,
have that ability to eat, good for our vibration, for our physical body, and you're connecting that with your mind and filling it up with good things that are going to actually keep you in that state of
yeah.
serving your mission. So with that being said,
I
uh,
wanted to say one more thing if I can about that,
I
because
want you to absolutely.
part of the Buddhist practice, and this is what I'm really present to, is that just because you practice all of these things, and just because you're vibing high, doesn't mean bad shit's not going to happen. And it doesn't mean contrast is not going to enter into your life. In fact, the more you elevate your life, the more likely it is to come, because it's just the universe is acting on your behalf to help you with the sand against the proverbial pearl to grow more into that shiny pearl or diamond that you're here to be. And you can't be it without, the poison to turn into medicine. You
That
need
is
both.
very true.
You
That's
need
so
both.
true. That's so juicy, that wisdom. And I'm just kind of curious now that we kind of continued it just a little bit more, because we're almost up to the actual hour, but I just had a thought. My little angel said, you need to ask her this question. This is really important. So if someone wanted to work with you, let's say they listened to this podcast and they wanted to work with you besides your juicy website, is there any way they could, like, maybe potentially watch a particular recording at something that you've done in the last, just say the last year and a half, 2 years, so they could, just kind of get a flavor of Judy?
I mean, if you follow me on social media, I post, different videos all the time. You can go to Ben Speaks website. You could see me as a speaker. It's hard to be recorded as a speaker in front of kid audiences. So we didn't never really got that because of just the reasons for that. But I was videotaped at a church maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where there was a 12-year-old kid who took his life in the town of Acton, and the cable station recorded me.
Mhm.
Ben Speaks has recordings of me through the Ben Speaks channel.
Awesome. Awesome.
You know,
That's
there are
great. So
definitely things.
there is something, which that's good, because I think that people listening to this probably would like to get to know you better, because let's just say they don't know you. Some of the people that are listening will know you because we both kind of know similar people. We know, like, lots of people online, similar. But just in case somebody, from, let's just say, Michigan, where we've never been to Michigan. Oh, maybe you have been to Michigan, but is listening and they're like, oh, I really want to know more about this, Judy. Sometimes it's nice to have a little snippet recording of, like, you and the essence of you, because you're just so juicy goddessy.
Oh,
So
thank you.
that's
Well,
why I
you can also book a free 30-minute consultation with me through my.
awesome. We
So
are going to put that in the link. We're going to give them a free session so you can actually have, like, a quick one-on-one. That sounds juicy. I love it. Thank you so much, Judy, for coming here on the Rise of the Goddess Collective podcast.
Thank you so much.
Have
It's
a
been a pleasure.
wonderful, wonderful Thursday and enjoy your amazing weekend.
Thank you.
That
Happy 4th of July.
July weekend, so I'm sure you have some juicy things going on.
I do. I'm very excited. Thank you. You have a great time as well. Be safe.
All right, you too. Bye for now.
Bye.
Okay, we stopped the video.
Okay, great.
So I think I stopped it. Where's the button for stopping?
I think you have to hit the record button again to unrecord.
Okay.
It says it's recording still.
Okay, we're gonna stop.
Or you just hit it again and maybe, I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna stop it, and then I'm gonna come back on because I want to talk to you.
Okay.
I'm gonna end it and then come back on. So don't leave, but don't leave. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
I'll stay right here.
All right, bye.